I think turn it round where you live, because I think actually it starts where you live. It's if you've got kids, it starts when your kid is in kindergarten. Basically, we have a glorious 8th century inheritance of individual liberty, and we're not passing it on to the next generation. And that's nothing to do with guys making decisions in the Washington or the world's capitals or the United Nations. That's something you can do something about with your grade school teacher in your hometown, in your school district, in your county. And that's if we're going to reverse this, it's got to be rolled back from the bottom up. So that's the takeaway, really. Action in your hometown, in your kid's school, fighting it culturally as opposed to just relying on one little Tuesday vote in November every other year. It's more than that. It's bigger than that. I think Gatestone is absolutely critical at a time when around the world people are making plans for the post-American world. Gatestone specializes in the big foreign policy questions, and often the foreign policy questions that the so-called established foreign policy think tanks and institutes aren't dealing in. I love a guy, I've never met him, I don't know anything about him, except I read him at Gatestone's website all the time, a guy called Soeren Kern, who writes about the Islamization of Europe and highlights all those tiny little specific issues that put together paint a very alarming picture. There's nothing, I would love it. I mean, American newspapering is dying. And I'd love it if one of those newspapers, New York Times, Washington Post, Boston Globe, all these newspapers being sold for bargain basement prices, had the wit to have a guy like that writing those kind of stories on their pages. But instead I go to Gatestone because Gatestone is the only place you can get it, and that's a unique voice. In many parts of the world it would be illegal. I don't just mean dictatorships, but the European Union is thinking of passing laws that would make it impossible for Soeren Kern to write what he did over there. So Gatestone is absolutely indispensable at telling stories that no other part of the foreign policy establishment, think tanks, is telling. And it's unique in that, and it deserves your support, deserves everybody's support.